the replacements. Further ahead, a group of four shadowy figures moved along the interior of Purple World. The area was primarily dark aside from the luminance plant life. The flowers glowed with a mix of red and purple hues. The group had just entered a new area where the ground looked man-made, despite all knowing it was impossible. When the first of the quads stepped on the road, they instantly withdrew their foot. The ground where the first had touched produced a ripple of light. It resembled something you expected to see had someone stepped into a pond instead of a hard surface. The rippling expanded in all directions, illuminating the entire area and revealing the large cavern. The top of the walls appeared made of crystals with a violet color, while the ceiling was too high up to be seen. Grassy hills filled the surrounding landscape. Although the group could only assume it was grass, it did not have the typical green color like usual. Instead, it was pink and red in different places, all except the road that cut right down the middle, where it led to who knew. One stepped to the front of the group and beckoned the others to follow. Soon, the rest did as directed and proceeded as if everything that happened was just a typical day, because, perhaps strangely, it was, for them at least. The group noted Daniel and Ian's position to ensure the two groups would not meet. Communication with the desirables was prohibited. There were a few rules that could be bent here and there, but not that one, not unless you severely lacked a healthy sense of self-preservation. Had they encountered them, they may have had to come up with answers to the questions they undoubtedly had. One is, why did the four of them look the way they did? Each replacement team member wore a bulky white suit with a bubble-like helmet. The whole thing looked like something you would wear if going into outer space. The face was the only natural body part anyone could see, although it only had a blue tint. Standing a little in front of the team given the name Echo was its team's lead, Echo 1. She looked at the display each had attached to their wrist, wanting to ensure they kept a tight schedule. A blinking light displayed, indicating a message was coming through. Base to Echo 1 report. The request came into the headset, embedded in their helmets. Echo 1 here. We are moving into position for the first replacement surveillance unit. Over, Echo 1 replied. The rest of the team nodded to the one given the rank of 1 before returning to their task. Copy. The reply came. How come we're the ones out here for this? I thought it was Bravo's turn. Echo 2 said. A mild annoyance could be heard in his voice. Didn't you hear? There is no Bravo team anymore, Echo 3 said, while motioning with his finger across his throat. What? Echo 2 yelled. What? It was clear that he hadn't looked at the updated roster. Hearing the two in conversation, Echo 3 chimed in. That's what I heard. They disappeared almost 2 days ago. That's just a rumor. They have probably just been reassigned, Echo 4 said, while trying to bring more sensibility to the group. Oh sure, reassignment, Echo 3 said, while holding quotation marks. Well, maybe he's right 3. Bravo did like to cut a lot of corners. We all saw it, so maybe management finally did too, said Echo 2. Although he said this to reassure himself more than the others. I mean, they can't all be dead, right? It would explain why we are here and not them. Echo 3 said not to be as optimistic as 4, but not as fearful as Echo 2. He was somewhere in the middle, which he thought made him the most reasonable of the bunch. The speculation continued with the group, except for Echo 1. She had stood a little bit away from the rest of the team, not only because it was the job of the number one of each group to maintain contact with the command center, but had also made the decision to keep away from the non-essential conversion that the group was parting in. She had been with the company longer than the rest and understood that the company had precise rules to adhere to. As such, she never became friendly with the others and didn't want to give the impression that they were friends. No, this was a job and not in a safe place. People come in and sometimes don't leave. Making attachments could prove dangerous. It was because Echo 1 could see it that way, and when the promotions did occur, there were no surprises that she was selected. However, If the rest choose to live differently, that's their business. So long as it doesn't go too far, the risk would be minimal. However, while thinking this, Echo 1 heard something that caused her to believe that a line had been crossed. Echo 2, what did you just say? This was more of a command than a question and needed to be answered. What? I was only asking 3, did he know what was Bravo's last job? Echo 4 said, while showing a look of confusion. It was a look that the rest shared as well. No, that's not what you said, Echo 1 said. Echo 2 rolled his eyes, finally understanding why Echo 1 was so upset. He had been so careful, they all had been, and Echo 2 could feel the growing contempt that he was the one that let the secret slip. Okay, fine, Echo 2 said, with a bit more anger than he originally intended, but he decided it was best not to stop. I said, hey Randy, do you know what Bravo's last job was? Okay, is that what you wanted to hear? You used his real name. You broke the rule, said Echo 1, while pointing a finger in 2's face. For a few seconds it was quiet, the reprimand hanging in the air, waiting for another blow from the team's lead, until one of the others finally spoke out. Oh, come on, 1. You're the only one who takes the rules seriously, Echo 3 said while folding his arms. The rules are there for a reason. Echo 1 responded, a little more frustrated now that another was being defiant. If you can't follow them. Oh, come off of it. Truth be told, we all use our real names except you. 3 said. Echo 1 stood horrified. You can't be serious. Looking over the team, Echo 1 found that most of them were aligned together. She looked at 4, who was, for the most part, the most sensible of her subordinates. 4, sensing the pressure to step forward, did just that. It's true we've gotten better acquainted for the past couple of weeks now. We wanted to let you in, but you're such a stickler for whatever the doctor says. We knew you wouldn't be down with it, and we were right, said Echo 2. You're such a killjoy. Idiots were all Echo 1 could whisper. She wondered if it was enough to put in for reassignment, but would it look bad on as a team lead? Hey, what's that? Echo 4 stood fixated on something. By this point, they had arrived at the rendezvous point, but now there was some sort of smoke or something closer to a mist. Echo 1 had been going through these caverns for some time, but was still caught off guard now and then, and this place had its own weather patterns. They would have thought it was interesting if it already didn't cause just a bit of fear. Something about this mist was troubling, more than usual. Echo 1 activated the transmitter. Echo 1 to base, come in base. Nothing it was as feared. She turned to the rest of Team Echo, perplexed as the mist filled the space between them. Run. It was all she said, but when the word was uttered, the rest knew as well. This was how it happened. Whatever happened to the other teams, their disappearance, it had to be because of this. Echo 2 was the first to obey, then 3, then 4.